They sent her just before dawn, when the fog still hugged the ground and the air smelled of damp earth and old iron. No one rode with her. She came alone down the dirt road, a heavy shawl pulled tight around her shoulders, boots worn thin at the soles. The town council had decided she was useful but not worth keeping. Her husband had been gone 6 months, crushed beneath a fallen beam at the mill, and with him went her standing. No children, no land, no charity left to claim. She can feed pigs, they'd said. That rancher doesn't talk much, he won't mind. She stood at the gate for a long moment, listening to the low grunts from the pen and the distant creak of a windmill. The ranch house was quiet, lights still off. She considered turning back, even knowing there was nowhere to return to. When the door opened, she flinched. The rancher stepped out slowly, tall and broad, hair uncombed, shirt half-buttoned. He didn't look surprised to see her, just tired. "You're early," he said. "I was told to be," she replied, eyes down. "They said I'd work for food. I won't take more than." He held up a hand, not sharp, not angry, just enough to stop the words spilling out of her. "Who sent you?" She hesitated. "Everyone." That made him frown. He walked past her toward the pig pen, studying the ground, the fence, the troughs. Then he turned back. "You don't feed pigs on an empty stomach," he said. "Come inside." She stared, "Sir, That wasn't a request." Inside, the kitchen was warm, simple, clean. He set bread and stew on the table like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. She ate with shaking hands, tears dropping silently into the bowl. No one had asked her if she was hungry since the funeral. After breakfast, she followed him out, expecting instructions, orders, a list of what she owed. Instead, he handed her a bucket and walked beside her to the pen. "They eat twice a day," he said. "Don't let them rush you, they sense fear." She almost laughed at that, but the sound caught in her throat. By noon, her back ached and her dress was muddy. She braced herself when he approached again. "You can rest," he said. "There's a room off the kitchen, used to be my sister." Her chest tightened. "I don't want to be trouble." He looked at her then, really looked, not past her, not through her. "You're already here," he said. "That's not trouble." Days turned into weeks. She learned the rhythm of the ranch, the quiet mornings, the way he paused before speaking as if weighing every word. He never commented on her body, never rushed her, never treated her like she was temporary. When townsfolk came by, curious or mocking, he stood between them and the porch without raising his voice. "She stays," was all he said. Once she asked him why. He shrugged. Everyone deserves somewhere to finish breathing. At night she cried softly into her pillow, grief and shame loosening their grip inch by inch. She'd been called lazy, useless, too much, too slow. Here she was just there. One afternoon, a man from town rode up, smirking. "Council says she's only meant for the pigs. You're keeping her too close." The rancher didn't move. "They don't own people." The man laughed. "She's a burden." The rancher's voice hardened. "Then she's mine to carry." When the rider left, she stood trembling near the barn, sure she'd caused trouble. "I can go," she whispered. "I don't want to ruin anything for you." He shook his head once. "I lived alone a long time. This place didn't suffer for it, but it didn't live either." She looked at him, eyes shining. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," he said. "You show up, you work, you don't ask for pity." That winter was harsh. Snow piled high against the fence. One night the wind howled so hard she woke gasping, convinced the roof would tear away. She found him already awake, feeding the stove. "You're shaking," he said. "So are you," she replied. They sat side by side until the storm passed. Spring came slow but certain. By then people stopped calling her the fat widow. They called her by her name. The ranch began to feel fuller, not louder, just warmer, lived in. One evening, as the sun dipped low, she stood watching the pigs root in the mud and said softly, They sent me here to disappear. He leaned on the fence beside her. You didn't. She smiled then, a real one, not small, not apologetic. I think, she said, this is the first place I've ever been chosen. He nodded, me too. And though the town would never admit it, they'd been wrong about both of them. She was never meant for the pigs. She was meant for a place that refused to let her go. Summer settled over the ranch like a slow exhale. The pigs grew fat and lazy in the heat, wallowing contentedly, no longer the symbol the town had tried to turn them into. The widow Mara rose before dawn each day, not because she was told to, but because she wanted to. She learned which sow liked her ears scratched, which piglet always escaped the pen, which chores could wait and which could not. The rancher noticed everything, though he rarely said so. One afternoon, a letter arrived with a red seal. Mara saw his jaw tighten as he read it. What is it? She asked carefully. Council summons, he said. They want to revisit arrangements. Her stomach dropped. I can leave before they come. He folded the letter slowly. You won't. The meeting was held in the town hall, hot and crowded. People whispered as Mara walked in beside him. Some stared. Some smirked. Some looked away, uncomfortable with how solid she seemed now, how unashamed. The councilman cleared his throat. This woman was assigned labor, temporary, you've overstepped. The rancher spoke calmly. She works, she earns, same as anyone. She's not family, another man said. Mara surprised herself by stepping forward. Her voice shook, but it held. I wasn't sent to work, she said. I was sent to be hidden, to remind everyone what happens when a woman has no one. Silence fell. I found someone, she continued, eyes steady now, and a place. If that bothers you, it's not my shame to carry. The rancher placed a hand on her shoulder, not possessive, protective. She stays, he said again, or I take my business elsewhere, grain, livestock, taxes, all of it. The councilmen exchanged looks. They needed him more than they wanted to admit. Very well, the head councilman muttered. She may remain voluntarily. Outside, Mara's knees nearly gave out. She laughed once, short and breathless, then covered her mouth. I thought my heart would tear in half, she said. He nodded. It didn't. That night they ate on the porch as fireflies blinked over the fields. The air was warm, full of quiet sounds. I don't know what this is, Mara said softly. Us here. He considered that. Neither do I. She waited, not pressing. But he added, I know what it is. What isn't it? It isn't charity, and it isn't loneliness anymore. Her eyes filled, not with grief this time, but with something steadier. Months later, a child from town arrived with a basket of eggs and an awkward smile. Then another. Then a woman asking if Mara might teach her how to manage animals. Slowly, the ranch became a place people went to learn how to begin again. On the first anniversary of her arrival, Mara stood at the pig pen at dawn, smiling at the irony. He joined her with 2 cups of coffee. They sent me here to be reduced, she said. And he asked. And I grew. He lifted his cup in quiet agreement. The town never apologized. Towns rarely do. But years later, when people spoke of the ranch, they didn't talk about pigs or pity. They said it was a place where broken things weren't hidden away. They were kept, fed, and allowed to become something else. And the lonely rancher, no longer lonely, never once regretted refusing to let her go. Autumn arrived the way it always did on the plains, without asking permission. The mornings sharpened, the light softened, and the ranch began to hum with the kind of work that meant survival through winter. Mara found herself making lists without being told, repairing fences before they failed, storing feed like someone who fully intended to still be there when the snow came. One evening, she realized something that startled her. She was planning a future. Not hopping. Not begging. Planning. That night, she sat at the kitchen table, mending a coat, when she finally spoke the thought out loud. "If I leave someday," she said carefully, not looking up, "I don't think I'd survive losing this place." The rancher leaned against the counter, quiet as ever. "Then don't leave." Her needle paused mid-stitch. "You don't owe me staying," he added, "but you're not temporary here, not unless you choose to be." She set the coat aside. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. "People like me don't usually get to choose." He met her eyes. "Here you do." Winter tested them. A sickness swept through the pigs. A storm tore half the north fence down. One night Mara collapsed from exhaustion, fever burning her skin. When she woke, she was in his bed, the stove roaring, his chair pulled close enough that she could hear him breathing. "You should have let me work," she whispered hoarsely. He shook his head. "You're not a tool." She cried then, not from pain, but from the weight of being believed. By spring, the ranch stood stronger than it ever had, and so did she. The town noticed. A man who once mocked her asked for work. A woman who turned her away brought cloth and an apology she didn't quite know how to say. Mara accepted neither with bitterness nor eagerness, only with calm. She had learned something rare. Worth does not rise when others approve. It settles when you stop asking. One evening, as the sun sank low and the land glowed copper, the rancher handed her a folded paper. "What's this?" she asked. "Deed," he said simply, "half." Her breath caught. "I didn't earn this." He shook his head. "You earned more than this. This is just paper catching up." She looked at him for a long time. "They sent me here to feed pigs," she said quietly, "to be forgotten." He answered without hesitation, "And I found someone who taught this place how to live again." She stepped forward then, not rushing, not afraid. For the first time since her husband's death, she reached for someone, not out of need but choice. The town would later tell the story wrong, of course. They'd say the rancher rescued a widow. They'd say he was generous. They'd say he gave her a life. But the truth, the quiet truth, was this. They saved each other from disappearing. And neither of them ever belonged in the pen.